My name is Verena Caldera. I'm 37 years old, the youngest daughter of a wine dynasty that people in Sonoma whisper about like royalty, equal parts envy and fear. I grew up in a world of pressed suits, whispered deals, and champagne toasts over silence. But unlike my older brother Mateo, the heir everyone counted on, I never wanted a crown soaked in secrets. I left the estate at 29 and never looked back until the funeral. And even then, I kept quiet about the one thing they didn't know. I had just bought a house. Paid in cash. Under a name they'd never trace. I thought I was being clever. I didn't realize that house was a trigger waiting to be pulled. The chapel smelled like white lilies and money. Quiet violins drifted under the hush of old leather shoes on stone. Outside, storm clouds hung like bruises, the kind of weather that made you feel something bad had just begun. Mateo gave the eulogy. Polished. Cold. Every sentence a tribute carved with surgical precision. He didn't mention Dad's temper, or the silence, or how the estate bled staff who knew too much. Leanne, my older sister, nodded as Mateo spoke, not because she agreed, but because agreeing looked good in photographs. I stood in the back, hands clenched around my bag, watching, listening, waiting. Lucien Caldera was a visionary, Mateo said. He believed in legacy above all. Legacy. What a sterilized word for control. Someone coughed behind me. I turned. No one there. When we returned to the estate, the mood shifted. Mourning turned into murmurs. The private reading of the will was held in the redwood-paneled library, the one with the lion's head fireplace Dad never let us sit near as kids. Only family and legal counsel allowed. Everyone else was ushered out. I sat across from Mateo. He didn't look at me. He didn't need to. That smug half-smile was practically stapled to his face. "You sure you want to be here, Ren?" Leanne asked sweetly. "You've been gone so long." "Long enough to forget how this game works," Mateo added, sipping from a glass that wasn't even water. The estate lawyer, Mr. Ellsworth, cleared his throat. "Lucien Caldera's assets will be distributed according to the updated trust filed 3 months prior to his death." Updated? My stomach flipped. He read through numbers, properties, shares. The Caldera Trust, Mateo, primary executor. Leanne, managing estate interests. Nothing for me. Except, tap, tap. A courier knocked once, then handed Mr. Ellsworth a thick, cream-colored envelope. No return address. Just my name. Handwritten. Black ink. Familiar. "This just arrived." "For Miss Caldera," Ellsworth said. Everyone stared. I tore the envelope open. Inside, one sentence, typed on my father's stationery. "You bought it. That house is not safe. Destroy the safe under the floor." My throat dried. No one else saw the message. I slipped it into my bag. "Anything urgent?" Mateo asked, voice cool. "No, I lied. Just something. Personal." We moved to the conservatory. Wine was poured. Old friends lingered too long. Leanne laughed too loud. Mateo made a toast. To bloodlines and legacies, and to a future where every asset stays where it belongs. He looked right at me. I didn't blink. An hour later, the air had thinned. The last glass clinked. The storm hadn't broken yet, but it would. Back in my car, parked under the rusted oak Dad refused to cut down, I read the note again. My fingers trembled. How could he know about the house if I never told a soul? By the time I reached the house, fog had poured down the hills like wet cement. I killed the headlights 2 blocks early, parked beneath a half-dead pine, waited. No movement, no lights, nothing but the soft tap of rain on the roof and the faint hiss of trees breathing. Then I moved. The gravel crunched too loudly beneath my boots. My hands stayed in my coat pockets, fingers wrapped tight around a folding knife I hadn't used since New York. One thing my father taught me: never enter a room without an exit strategy. I unlocked the front door. The air inside was stale. Drywall dust, sawdust, a faint chemical tang, varnish, and something older. A scent like memories rotting in a jar. I didn't bother turning on the lights. My footsteps echoed off bare wood. The house was still in renovation, intentionally. It made hiding easier. No furniture, no clutter, no distractions. Just walls and secrets. Straight to the study. Floorboards, for steps in, two right. A slight bend in the grain. Not visible unless you knew where to look. I dropped to my knees. My breath misted in the cold air. 3 screws. Stripped heads. I used the tip of the knife and pried them loose. The board popped up with a soft creak. Beneath it, a safe embedded in concrete. Old. Heavy. Dusty as a tomb. I spun the dial. Combination. May 13th, 21. My parents' anniversary. The lock clicked. Inside, a reel of 8mm film in a metal canister. Labeled in sharp black ink, Monte Solana 1984. Below it, a folder wrapped in wax paper. Caldera Trust, Phase 2. My throat tightened. I reached for the folder. A floorboard creaked. I froze. Silence. I reached into the safe again, pulled the folder and film out, slammed the lid shut. Then I stood. Fast. The back door was open. Wide. I locked that door. Another creak. Upstairs this time. Adrenaline surged. I bolted down the hallway, folder tight against my chest. My breath hitched in fast bursts. Knife ready. I didn't turn on any lights. I moved through darkness like instinct. The sound of feet, slow, deliberate, on the upstairs landing. I ducked behind the staircase. Waited. Seconds passed like knives through water. Then the front window shattered. Glass exploded inward. A man's silhouette moved through the hallway above. I caught just enough of his build. Tall, broad, black hoodie. Gloved hands. No flashlight. He knew the layout. He wasn't robbing me. He was hunting. I ran. Slid through the side door, down the slope behind the house. Mud clung to my boots. Rain soaked my back. The folder stayed clenched in one hand. The film jammed into my coat. Flashlight beam swept over the trees behind me. I hit the tree-line, ducked behind a fallen log. Then silence. My pulse thundered in my ears. Footsteps again. Closer. I remembered something Dad once told Mateo. Some men build their power like walls. Others bury it underground. My father buried something, and someone just tried to make sure I never unearthed it. 10 minutes. 10 minutes of crouched breathing and waiting. Then the beam disappeared. I stayed longer. The cold pressed through my spine, but the rage kept me warm. When I got back to my car, my hands were shaking. I opened the glove box and shoved the folder inside. Started the engine. Just before pulling away, I saw it. A shoe print in the mud beside the driver's door. Pressed deep. Fresh. They had been waiting. They weren't watching the house. They were watching me. They were already watching the house before the funeral. The silence inside Eloise's apartment was louder than the storm I'd escaped the night before. She watched me from the kitchen, her dark eyes fixed on the folder I'd placed between us. A lawyer's instinct. Don't touch anything until it screams liability. I need to know what's in it, I said. My voice was rough, dry from running, from fear. Eloise crossed her arms. You realize this could be privileged information, dangerous to even look at, let alone keep. I'm not here for privilege. I'm here for answers. That folder held more weight than any eulogy ever could. Caldera Trust, Phase 2. Wax sealed like a time bomb. We opened it together. It wasn't just financials. There were letters, signed affidavits, scanned medical records stamped in red. Confidential. Names I didn't recognize. Transfers to overseas accounts. Multiple wards under different last names. One entry stood out. Subject, Anya. Transferred to Monte Solana Clinic, October 1984. Treatment type, Experimental regression therapy. Status, isolated. Eloise's brow furrowed. Regression therapy? That's not legal without consent. They paid to erase her. She glanced at me. Who's Anya? My mother died in '83. We both stared at the date. Eloise grabbed the film reel I'd brought. We need this digitized. Now. Cut scene. We were in a small film lab in San Rafael, cold as a morgue and twice as sterile. A tech named Grant, jittery, 30-something, reeked of espresso, ran the reel through a digitizer. Static, then grainy color. A room with beige walls. A metal hospital bed. Lucian Caldera, 40 years younger, pacing, yelling. No audio. Behind him, a woman. Blonde. Pale. Thin. But her posture, her hands, I'd seen them before. In pictures. In the mirror. She turned. Looked directly into the camera. I stopped breathing. Eloise whispered, "That's your mother." I shook my head. "That's after she died." The tape kept playing. Lucian leaned in, mouth moving. He was angry. The woman flinched. A nurse entered. The door closed. Grant paused the tape. "I need a copy," I said. "Encrypted." "You sure?" he asked. "This looks." "Just do it." We stepped outside. Rain again. Wind tearing leaves off parked cars. I didn't notice the black SUV until it rolled forward, slow like a funeral crawl. 2 men stepped out. Suits, charcoal gray. No umbrellas. "Ms. Caldera," one said. "We'd like to have a word." Eloise reached for her phone. I grabbed her arm. "No calls," I muttered. "Just move." We turned. They followed. We ran. Cut scene. Down an alley. Over a fence. Landed hard on broken concrete. My ribs screamed. Eloise cursed under her breath. The folder thudded in her bag. "We have to go underground," she said. "You know someone?" "I know a hacker who owes me 2 felonies and a favor." Back at her apartment, I pulled up a PDF of the original Caldera estate plans. Ones I'd downloaded years ago, back when I still thought inheritance was a game worth playing. "There," I said, pointing. "Storage room 6C. North wing. I've never seen it." Eloise squinted. "It's not on any modern floor plans. Because it doesn't exist anymore. Or they don't want it to." That night, I stared at the old plans until my eyes blurred. The next morning, I woke to a text from an unknown number. "Stop digging or we bury the truth with you." Blocked number. No trace. No timestamp. I showed Eloise. She shrugged. "Guess that means we're onto something." Cut scene. The power flickered. My phone buzzed again. A second message. This one with an image. The house. My house. A photo taken through the window, from inside. I didn't go back. I didn't pack. I didn't warn anyone. Because that photo meant only one thing. My house wasn't a hiding place. It was a trap. By morning, Eloise had vanished. No text. No call. Just her apartment door, cracked an inch. Keys on the table, and the film reel missing. I stood in the hallway, heart thumping like a fist against bone. She wouldn't just run. Unless someone gave her a reason. There are 2 kinds of secrets. The ones you bury and the ones that get buried with you. I picked up the keys. Left the door open. Drove. Fog still clung to the streets, like it didn't want to leave either. I hit the AMC Medical Archives. By 8:12 a.m., sharp glass facade. Polished concrete lobby. The receptionist smiled too brightly. "Hi, I'm following up on a patient records request. For Monty Solana transfers mid-80s. She tapped her screen. "Do you have authorization?" "I do," I said, sliding the old Caldera access card across the counter. She hesitated, then scanned it. A green light blinked. "Room B4, she said, voice flatter. "Down the elevator. Second left." Cut scene. The hall below felt colder than the morgue. Lights flickered. I passed 4 storage units, marked inactive. No cameras, only a single keypad by the B4 door. Code 1038. My father's birth year. It clicked open. Metal shelves stretched into the dark. Paper files, digital backups, bio records in thick blue folders. I searched by date, October 1984. Then name, Anya. Then alt names, A. Cordero, A. Sutter. Nothing. Until a box labeled Caldera Exception, sealed by internal counsel. I pulled it down. Inside, a notarized form. Signature faded. My mother's. And below it, a second line. Lucien Caldera. But there was a third signature, scribbled in haste. Different ink. Eloise Ramirez. The date? Yesterday. My chest tightened. Had she come here alone? Was she forced to sign something? I snapped photos, pocketed the top sheet. Then the lights cut out. Silence. Total black. I backed against the wall. No phone signal. No sound. Until the shuffle of shoes across linoleum. Deliberate. Heavy. A flashlight blinked once. Then vanished. Eloise. I whispered. No answer. Another beam flashed. This time closer. Then a voice. You should have stayed dead, Verena. I didn't wait. I bolted. Box left behind. Folder in hand. Turned left. Then right. Slammed into a metal door that wouldn't budge. Dead end. The footsteps sped up. I reached into my coat. Knife still there. Good. Then a sound, not footsteps. A click. Metal. A gun cocking. I ducked. The shot rang out, missed by inches. Sparks from the metal frame. I rolled, kicked open a side cabinet, crawled inside. Whoever was chasing me didn't know this archive. But I did. The vents were old, big enough to crawl through. I climbed in. Sweat pooled in my hands. Dust clogged my lungs. I inched forward, praying no one fired into the duct. The metal creaked. Then silence. 10 minutes later, I pushed out into a side hallway. Emergency exit blinking red. Alarms silent. They hadn't triggered anything. They weren't amateurs. Cut scene. Back in the car, I called Eloise's phone. Straight to voicemail. Left nothing. Then called Nolan. He picked up on the second ring. Verena. His voice was cautious. I need to meet. Now. Where? Public. No blind spots. No parking structures. He hesitated. You're burning bridges. They lit the match first. Pause. Then, Fort Mason Pier. Noon. Click. Cut scene. Fort Mason was half empty. Gray sky bleeding into the ocean. Tourists scattered. Seagulls circling like vultures. Nolan leaned against a concrete barrier. Aviators. Hood up. Dressed like a man pretending not to be rich. He didn't hug me. Didn't offer a smile. Just said, "What did you take?" I handed him the photo of the triple signature. Eloise was here yesterday. I think she found something. I think someone followed her. Nolan studied it, then flipped it over. Read the metadata. This form was altered after it was scanned. By who? He didn't answer. I stepped closer. Nolan, who owns Monte Solana? A beat. Then he looked at me. Expression unreadable. The Caldera Trust never sold it. They just refiled it under a shell name. My stomach dropped. Whose? Mine. He paused. Technically, it's owned by Caldera Medical Holdings West, but I'm the listed officer of record. My world tilted. You. I whispered. You're part of this. His jaw tightened. I was 21. Your father said it was just for taxes. And Eloise? She found the ledger. It connects Monte Solana to a black site program. What kind of program? He looked away. Not the kind they admit exists. I stared at him. Where is she? I don't know. Then a vibration in my pocket. Blocked number. Another message. A photo. Eloise. Blindfolded. Bound to a chair. Unconscious. Caption. Trade or she disappears. I didn't sleep. Not really. Just closed my eyes and waited for the world to startle me awake. The photo of Eloise bound unconscious stayed on my lock screen like a warning. Someone had her. Someone powerful. I drove north. Highway 101, then back roads that wound up toward the Sierra foothills. The sky was bruised with storm clouds. My phone vibrated every 5 minutes with another blocked number text. Return the film, or she dies. The road narrowed. Trees packed the shoulders like sentries. My breath came in short bursts. A phrase I once heard, strength isn't born from comfort. It's forged in the furnace of fear. By the time I reached the cabin coordinates Eloise found, the rain had turned to ice. The cabin's shape emerged from the fog, a skeletal structure of wood and shadows, nestled in a clearing that looked like it hadn't seen life in years. Cut scene. The door creaked open before I could knock. She stood there, older, gaunt, hair like silver wire, eyes too familiar. Come in, she said. Her voice rattled something in me. Inside, the air was warm, but stale, like secrets fermenting too long. Who are you? I asked, closing the door against the wind. Your mother, she said. I laughed. A dry sound. That's impossible. She died. 18 years ago. Yes. She paused. Officially. Her name was Anya Petrov. I noticed a faded photo on the mantel, a younger Lucian, smiling, arm around her. A woman who looked exactly like me. I felt my chest tighten. That's you, I said. That's her. Anya pointed at the photo. I was no one's wife. Not really. Her eyes hardened. She told a story that felt unreal, like film grain on a VHS tape. Monte Solana, the clinic hidden behind the vineyard, wasn't just a rehab center. It was a program, a project funded by Caldera Trust. Patients arrived. Some volunteered. Others were brought. Lucian wanted one thing, control, over memory, over pain, over truth. And Anya was the first to resist. You think I died that night, she said, eyes dark. I escaped. They erased me, refiled my identity, filed me away. I should have felt shock. I didn't, because part of me already believed it. She went on. There are others, children hidden in data, in trusts, in trust funds. Lucian's legacy wasn't love. It was containment. I stood still. The cabin door slammed. Ispun. Footsteps. Heavy. Rapid. For a second, time slowed, like a slow shutter exposing every detail of the intruder's face. A man. Tall. Broad. Hoodie soaked from the storm. Gun drawn. Stay right there, he said. Anya hissed. Get out the back. I didn't wait. I bolted past her, heart racing, through the narrow kitchen hallway. Distraction, running feet, a crash of wood and glass. I darted toward a side door. The gunshot didn't come immediately. It came after. Metal ricocheted off the frame beside my ear. I kept moving. Anya was behind me, urging me up a steep hill of slick earth. Rain lashed down like needles. We reached a ridge. Below us, the valley bled into rivers of light and darkness. He was still behind us. Then the second shot. I dove sideways. Anya fell with me. We hit dirt and roots. The wind screamed. Run, she said. Not a request. I ran. 2 bullets whizzed over my shoulder. I didn't look back. I reached my car at the edge of a gravel path, keys in hand, and fumbled them with shaking fingers. Engine turned over. I floored it. Cuts of light flashed through the windshield. Trees, rocks, shadows. Behind me, the cabin, small and burning embers in the distance, already hiding secrets again. Inside the car, the air smelled like panic and gasoline. I dialed Eloise's number. Straight to voicemail. Then I called Nolan. No answer. My reflection in the rearview mirror was someone I barely recognized. Eyes hollow, mouth set, breathing uneven. A phrase came unbidden. When you stare into the abyss stares back. I had looked, and now it was watching. I scanned the road signs. No towns ahead for miles. No help. I needed to think. Not like a daughter of the calderas. Like someone with nothing left to lose. I pulled onto a side road that led to the nearest town. A place called Sierra Grove. Police station. Sheriff's office. Cameras. Witnesses. I needed someone official. Inside the small station. The air smelled of coffee and fluorescent lights. Sheriff's badge glinted on a desk. "Can I help you?" a man asked. I sat, calmed myself, told him about Eloise, the threats, the photo. He didn't flinch. He stood. "Let's get a report filed." I watched as he typed, every keystroke a lifeline. Then my phone buzzed. A message. "You can't save her. You walk away now." The sheriff looked up. "Is that part of your evidence?" I swallowed. "Everything." He nodded slowly. "Let's make this formal." I exhaled. Hard. The phone buzzed again. Another message. This one had a video. Eloise's voice, clear, awake, eyes darting, terrified. "Verena, please." Suddenly the sheriff stood. "Someone's outside." We both heard it. A vehicle engine. Quiet at first. Then louder. A truck. Black. No headlights. Parked just beyond the window. I stepped closer. The driver's side door opened. Someone got out. Slow. Deliberate. And I knew, before they reached the steps, they weren't here to negotiate. They were here to take everything, including the truth. "I'm not afraid," I whispered. But even I could hear the lie. The beach was quiet before sunrise, a thin gray line between night and day, like a breath held too long. I stood at the edge of the pier, the phone in my hand still warm with Eloise's last message. Sheriff Daniels beside me, eyes scanning the horizon. "Are you sure about this?" he asked. Wind tugged at his coat. I didn't answer. I watched the waves crash against the pillars below us. Each strike echoed like a pulse, insistently, unrelentingly. Behind us, federal agents, sheriff deputies, and reporters milling on the boardwalk. They thought they were here for a press briefing. They had no idea this was a reckoning. I had the tape. I had the documents. And I had the truth. A crowd gathered. Flashbulbs in the distance. Cameras set to record every moment. The sheriff handed me a mic. "Verena Caldera," he said quietly. "You have something to share." I felt the weight of every eye, every camera lens, every breath held by someone waiting for a narrative they'd been fed for years. My voice was steady, but my heart thundered. "Yesterday," I began, "I was handed a story written by others. Today, I'm here to end it." I played the tape. Lucien's voice echoed over speakers, raw, unfiltered, unedited. We buried the truth to protect our name. But a name cannot protect itself without justice. Gasps. Murmurs. The boardwalk went quiet like a breath caught in a storm. The tape ended. I lowered the mic. They called it research. They called it enhancement. But it was neither. It was containment without consent. We erased lives in the name of legacy. I glanced at the sheriff, his jaw clenched. "I am not here to destroy my family," I continued, "but I am here to dismantle the lies that built it." Sudden, a shout from the crowd. "Is this safe to release? Are you sure?" A reporter snapped photos leaning in. "Yes," I said, "because truth is what justice thrives on." I turned back to the mic. Federal charges are being filed. Unauthorized human experimentation, fraudulent trust activities, and obstruction of justice. The sea behind us churned, an unsteady mirror of the moment. Then another voice rang out, deeper, calmer. "Verena." I turned. Nolan stepped forward, hands raised slightly. Behind him, documents in a thick folder. The ledger, he said. Everything you need to finalize the investigation. Every transfer, every account, every shell corporation tied to Monte Solana. Police stepped in. Agents took the folder from him. No cuffs, no resistance. Just papers that would break years of concealment. A reporter whispered loudly, "Truth doesn't come from comfort." I thought of that phrase, the kind Dad used to dismiss as nonsense. But there it was. Truth. Brutal. Irrefutable. Then my phone buzzed. It was Eloise. Text. "I'm alive. Come get me." Sheriff Daniels exhaled. "We're ready." Cut scene. We drove through narrow coastal roads. Ocean on one side, cliffs on the other, each twist and turn like a threat waiting to strike. No headlights, no sirens, just low beams and silent radio. The safe house coordinates led us to an abandoned boathouse on the edge of a cove. Waves thumped like giant fists against the aging wood. "Stay sharp," Daniels murmured. The boathouse door hung ajar. Rusted hinges, a smell of salt and fear. Inside, darkness, thick, unforgiving. I took a breath, short, precise. As I learned, fear is a compass pointing to truth. My flashlight beam cut through blackness. And there, tied to a chair, Eloise. Her eyes lifted, recognition, relief. "Verena," she whispered, voice frail but alive. "Show," I said, cutting the ropes with the knife I carried. "We've got you." She slid to the floor, wincing as she stood. Behind us, movement. Agents flanked a figure, stepping into the light. Not a stranger. Marina Vega. Her expression cold. Controlled. Calculated. "You didn't think I'd let it end without a fight," she said. She raised a gun. Before she squeezed the trigger, Nolan's voice rang out. "Drop it." She froze. Gun lowered. Behind us, deputies moved in. "Marina Vega," one announced, "you are under arrest." She didn't resist, just stared. At me. At Eloise. At everything she tried to bury. Cut scene. Outside, dawn broke, slow and golden. Not peaceful. Not perfect. But light nonetheless. Eloise stood beside me, wrapped in a blanket, watching waves crash. "I never thought I'd see sunrise again," she said, breath visible in the cool air. "Not all of us do," I replied, "but some do, and we owe it to them to tell their stories." I thought of Monte Solana, of hidden rooms, of files meant to vanish, of a father I once revered. Justice wasn't vengeance. It was clarity. It was transparency. It was the courage to name wrong and fight it. A reporter approached with a mic. "What does this mean for the Caldera name?" I paused. The wind lifted my hair. "Legacy," I said, "is not what you inherit. It's what you choose to leave behind." And with that, I turned toward the ocean. Eloise beside me. Truth behind us. A future uncertain but unmasked. The sun rose higher, not to blind us, but to illuminate.